In the year 2002, Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation, formerly known as the WWF, have become the juggernaut of professional wrestling. Their greatest competition in World Championship Wrestling and Extreme Championship Wrestling have both been purchased by the WWF founder and chairman Vince McMahon. With these three promotions now underneath the same roof, the newly established World Wrestling Entertainment would see fans tune in every week on Raw and SmackDown to watch the newly established Ruthless Aggression era. On the surface, professional wrestling was growing more than it had ever grown before, with established talent such as The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, WCW and ECW veterans such as Rob Van Dam, Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, and Rey Mysterio, as well as newly established talent such as Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, and many more. WWE was rising more than it ever rose before. Popularity was growing, and fans were more entertained than they'd ever been entertained before. However, to long-term wrestling fans, established wrestling fans, something was missing, something that you couldn't get with just one promotion. That something was competition. Competition was now gone now that WCW and ECW were under the WWE roof. And with that missing, fans began to look for another alternative. That alternative would grow and become known as Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, also known as TNA. In the summer of 2002, Total Nonstop Action, aka TNA, would be established by Jeff Jarrett and his father, Jerry Jarrett. The two would partner with the National Wrestling Alliance to create a new promotion and a new alternative, originally airing weekly on pay-per-view for $10 each. The NWA TNA, now merged as one promotion, would establish the X Division, where we would see stars such as Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Low Ki, Sonny Siaki, the Flying Elvises, and many more established the TNA X Division, which would go on to be the pioneer of what made TNA the true alternative. With established talent such as Sting, Kurt Angle, Christian Cage, the Dudleys, Kevin Nash, Jeff Jarrett, and many more making their way over to the Total Nonstop Action Wrestling roster, many fans would continue to see TNA grow from an independent-like promotion sponsored by the National Wrestling Alliance, aka the NWA, and grow into a true secondary option to the WWE. But now, in 2024, Total Nonstop Action has fallen to the wayside. No longer is it considered the number two. In all honesty, it's not even in the consideration for top promotions. WWE currently works with TNA in a partnership that's not often seen in professional wrestling. In fact, a new promotion, All Elite Wrestling, aka AEW, has emerged as the new secondary option to WWE. But what happened? What happened to the promotion that once caused a ruckus in the wrestling community? What happened to the true alternative to professional wrestling that TNA once offered? In this series, we will take a look back in history and see what happened with the rise and fall of Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. We will look to see if there's any way for TNA to once again reclaim its glory days, as well as maybe establish what possibly could be in the future. If you want to see this and more wrestling related content, hit the subscribe button, enable those notifications, and if you have your own opinions on TNA, leave them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. In the year 2002, Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett concepted the idea of a new alternative to WWE while on a fishing trip with wrestling journalist Bob Ryder. Soon after, the Jarretts would seek a joint venture with National Wrestling Alliance to form the new Total Nonstop Action Wrestling Company, signing up high-profile independent talents such as AJ Styles, Low Ki, Maxwell Brothers, and Trent Seven, as well as established veterans such as Ken Shamrock, Brian James, Sabu, Jerry Lynn, Raven, and many more. In an effort to quickly establish their promotion as a top-tier promotion within the United States, Jeff and Jerry Jarrett would strike an agreement with the National Wrestling Alliance to gain full creative control over the NWA's World Heavyweight and Tag Team Championships, and would introduce their own championship, the TNA X Division Championship, exclusive to the brand. The early days of TNA, with their 3 championships and young talent, would serve as a building period as they would air exclusively on weekly pay-per-view taping format and use it to quickly establish their young talent in the X Division. With the newly established X Division, NWA TNA would establish a unique identity by offering high-impact, high-octane wrestling action that wouldn't be defined by weight classes, something that wasn't normally seen in the NWA or wrestling at the time. Because of this, fans would tune in to weekly broadcasts to see their favorites, which would quickly be implemented in major storylines such as TNA versus Vince Russo's Sports Entertainment Extreme. Yeah, don't ask. Soon after, Jeff Jarrett and TNA would further establish the X Division by adopting the 6-sided ring, which allowed for tighter ropes and more high-octane offense never before seen in professional wrestling. To many fans, this was a unique and interesting change never before seen. However, to fans of Lucha Libre, specifically AAA, this was nothing new, for it had been used in Mexico and Lucha Libre for years and had become a tradition within the art form. However, TNA and management would continue to further elevate the X Division with more than just a six-sided ring. To do this, they would introduce the new match, the Ultimate X. Similar to a ladder match, the object of the Ultimate X is to retrieve the object or a championship hanging above the ring. The difference, though, is that in a ladder match, you can use a ladder. But in the Ultimate X match, the only way to win is by shimmying across X-shaped beams to retrieve the object, usually an X or a championship that is hanging above the ring. With the TNA X Division continuing to rise, TNA would continue to grow their popularity and establish a new weekly television broadcast on national television for Fox Sports 1 on Thursday nights. With this new change, more veterans such as Kevin Nash, DDP, Rhino, and WCW legend Sting would find their ways into the company. With the X Division continuing to grow, TNA would main event the Unbreakable pay-per-view with AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe. This would allow the promotion to further shine on the X Division and allow for more talent to shine within the division itself, as other X Division matches were also featured on the card. This would also be a unique main event, for the main event had never been for the Mid-Card Championship since 1995, with the WWF's Intercontinental Championship being defended with British Bulldog and Bret Hart. Around this time, TNA would continue to grow, as Kevin Nash, DDP, Rhino, and WCW legend Sting would soon join the company. Following this, TNA would also secure a true main eventer in Christian Cage, fresh off his release from WWE. With a growing roster of established veterans and young talent, TNA would continue to grow, establish themselves as the premier #2 brand of professional wrestling in America and possibly the world over. However, something was still missing, something was still wanted. TNA would find something within Kurt Angle not far behind in 2008. However, TNA was only just beginning, and it would not be denied. Along with the X Division and the established main event talent within TNA, another division was also carrying TNA, the Tag Team Division. Tag team wrestling at the time was always considered just another act in professional wrestling. In WWE, it was the undercard. In WCW, it was an afterthought. It shined a little bit in ECW, but since ECW's demise, it had always gone away. That wasn't until TNA came around. With TNA and NWA working together, teams such as the Maximo Brothers, America's Most Wanted, and Triple X would shine brightly in the X Division. Soon after, LAX and more teams would join the fray, allowing for a unique division that would be a perfect blend of main event and X Division talent working for the common goal of winning the NWA TNA Tag Team Championships. With its three divisions, the Tag Team, X Division, and World Heavyweight divisions, TNA would continue to offer something that was never before seen in professional wrestling. TNA would continue to grow by offering a blend of TNA's X Division and Tag Team divisions molding across each other. You would sometimes see talent such as Hernandez and Homicide teaming up in the X Division. You'll see TNA X Division talent such as Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles team up in the Tag Division. You would see Samoa Joe cross over with the X Division Championship into the main event scene. This was something that TNA strived with. This is something that they relished in. This is something that they offered that other promotions just simply couldn't. They offered a unique blend of young and established talent working together to create something magical, something that fans would gravitate towards. And this eventually would lead them to leaving their original location of the Nashville Asylum into what they called the TNA Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. This would be what would cause other talent to cross over later years that we will cover in the future videos. This is something that TNA still does to this day. They allow young talent to establish themselves, and they also bring in veterans to help establish that young talent without putting any harm on the legends' legacies. For an example, someone like AJ Francis can come over from WWE and have a great shining, while someone like Dolph Ziggler can come over and have an even better shining. He could offer something he's never been able to offer in WWE. He is currently the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, something he has never been able to do in WWE since he lost the title, tragically, due to a concussion. In TNA, sometimes you'll get things that just make sense. Sometimes you'll get things that are just fun, that are just great. This has always been something that TNA has done. This is something that they currently do well. It is something that has brought TNA fans from around the world into a unique product that you can't see elsewhere. In WWE, you'll see someone like Roman Reigns hog the spotlight, which isn't a bad thing. WWE knows that Roman Reigns is going to bring in, views and ratings. However, someone like TNA is going to take chances on someone like AJ Francis. AJ Francis is a phenomenal talent. He's a great mic worker. He's a great big person to wrestle in a unique offense that a big person wrestles in. He's something that you can't find somewhere else. He's something that you can't really teach. He's organic. He's something that's fun to watch, fun to hate, but you love him at the same time. He wasn't given that option in TNA. I'm sorry, he wasn't given an option until he came to TNA. It's not that WWE didn't want to give him an option. They didn't want to give him a chance. It's that WWE couldn't afford it. They had to rely on something that they knew because that's what always has worked for WWE. However, it's not to say that he can't shine on his own. It's not to say that he can't do great. This current run in TNA is proof of that. His current run elsewhere is proof of that. And you may see something similar in AEW. However, in AEW, again, another knock at the company is that in order for someone young to shine, they either have to have an established following already heading into their time in AEW, or they have to be friends and family of the current EVPs or the booker, Tony Khan. Again, this is not a knock at TNA. It's not a knock at AEW. It's not a knock at WWE. Each promotion finds something that's unique to them. In TNA, they've always been able to find the unique blend of mid-carders, main eventers, tag teams, and establishing their talent within a unique offering that other places just don't have. TNA will always be known for that. It'll always be known for bringing excitement when wrestling just doesn't seem exciting sometimes. To this day, there will be times where I will just sit there and watch TNA over WWE and AEW because I know when I watch TNA, I'm getting a great show. I'm getting something that anybody can buckle up and watch. You don't have to be an established wrestling fan. You don't have to be a lifelong wrestling fan. You can be new to the wrestling product, be turned on to TNA, and you'll know that there's something here. There's something with the current talent. You can go back and watch the old history of guys like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, and you can see why TNA offered them so much spotlight. You can see why they offered younger talent such as Sonny Siaki, Jimmy Yang, and many more the same spotlight. It's because they had something to offer that other places just wouldn't allow them to offer. It was a unique blend of professional wrestling that we just don't get to this day. It had a unique blend of hardcore, high-paced options, but it also had the down, slow-paced main events that we're used to in pro wrestling. It established itself with the help of NWA, but that was just a way to get it established, as we had talked about previously. That's not a knock on TNA. They did what they had to do to get up in the popularity quickly because they knew that WWE needed an alternative, and they were right. Since TNA, more promotions have been able to rise out of the ashes of what once was, and they are now able to thrive within this market. You have promotions such as New Japan, which are able to now come over to the United States and see success. They sold out Madison Square Garden. A promotion from Japan sold out Madison Square Garden, and that's all because of the groundwork that TNA had laid. TNA continues to be the alternative to most wrestling promotions that we just don't get. Simply put, TNA is an offering that's just great. It's just amazing. It's just fun. It's something that you want to watch as a fan. It's something that you want to believe in. Without TNA, pro wrestling kind of gets boring. To this day, I will watch TNA on its own when WWE and AEW just don't offer me the same. New Japan can offer you some of it, but it doesn't offer you the same. AAA can offer you the trick and showboats that you will see in the X Division sometimes, but it's not the same. TNA has established talent currently, such as Mike Bailey, such as Steve Macklin, such as Josh Andrews, which are growing talent. You have talent such as Eddie Edwards, who has thrived in TNA since the time he arrived from Ring of Honor. You have guys like Eric Young, who has tried to go over to WWE and not seen the same success because they wouldn't give him the chance. This is something that TNA does great. It's something that does amazingly well. And it's something that TNA will always be able to do. And it's something that I'm proud of TNA for. And that's why I like doing this retroactive series, because I think TNA deserves another chance in the main spotlight. It's not that WWE or AEW do anything wrong. They don't. They are both great, entertaining wrestling products in their own rights. AEW Dynamite is currently one of the best wrestling promotions. One of the best wrestling televised options out there, simply because it offers something that WWE doesn't. WWE in its own right is on a pace that has never before seen. Cody Rhodes is carrying WWE's banner like it's never been carried before. Damian Priest is a great world champion over on Monday Night Raw. You have so much talent across the wrestling world that it's hard to, showcase them on Raw, SmackDown, AEW, or even NXT. And that's what TNA offers. They offer another option of pro wrestling. That's all what they've always been, the alternative, and they will continue to be that. And if you like that, I suggest giving TNA a chance, because without TNA, wrestling might just die. Thank you all for watching the first episode of my history of TNA. I will continue this series and hope that you will continue to watch it. If you enjoyed this, please leave the comments down below, let me know about it, and enable those notifications, and hit the subscribe button for me. And if you want to save 15% or more off on our sponsor, you can use code MrMister at self-checkout. Our sponsor today is Raze Energy. RazeEnergy.com for your first order. MrMister at checkout to get 15% or more off on your first order. Thank you for watching.